everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Online Warriors podcast. My name is Nerdbomber. I am back, and I am joined by my good pal, Techtic.
Hello, hello.
This is the Labor Day episode, guys. We're filming this over, filming and recording over Labor Day weekend, primed to come out on Wednesday. How are you feeling, Techtic, after Labor Day? Are you ready for fall? I know last week you talked about pumpkin spice lattes, but there is some debate about whether Labor Day weekend is actually the end of summer, because technically, summer does not end until later in September. So have you moved forth into full fall foliage, I guess? Like, are you going hard into your Halloween stuff, or are you still grasping onto that last little bit of summer?
So a couple things. I wouldn't call it the end of summer, but I'd call it the end of summer break. And that's an important distinction, because that's when kids are all back to school by Labor Day.
Fuck them kids. I'm talking about me. I'm just kidding.
Okay. And then as far as am I ready? I'm not even ready for the labor that follows Labor Day. Don't want to go back to work. I just wanted the long weekend to just keep going. That would have been great. Am I ready for sweater weather? I'm always fucking ready for sweater. Honestly, if all year round, it can be, 50 degrees just for 2 hours in the morning. And then it could be gorgeous summer at night. I would love to just throw on a little sweater in the morning and then strip it off later. Just like a pullover, if I may.
Honestly, I would not mind fall season, because I love a good crew neck. I love a good hoodie. I love a good sweater. You're right. There is something really nice about a crisp, 65-degree day. But what I don't like is that the nights are creeping up on us faster. Where we're at, I think the sun is setting at 7:30, 8 o'clock now.
That sucks.
And so by the time I get home from work, I don't even have time to enjoy sweater weather. I'm in the house.
It's for sure depressing. With how late this season started, I felt like the entirety of where we're at was dealing with rain for the first couple of months. And so it felt like we had a late start. And so I don't know that I got my full summer in.
Yeah, I've also been struggling. So during the summer is when I usually pivot to reading and stuff like that. And I'm struggling because this time of year is when I get really back into my gaming swing of things. But I don't feel like I'm ready for it yet. I really don't. I have games on deck now that it's getting darker earlier that I know I want to get into, but it's tough, man. It's really tough.
Yeah, I'm feeling myself slipping into just being baseline irritable because of the sun, and it's sad.
The good news is, though, we have some topics that will make us a little bit happy. One is a very sort of seasonal topic, I guess, because it's
zombies.
Yeah, zombies, spooky, scary. Halloween.
Wait, is that really the seasonal one you were going with? I was making it funny.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, it's coming out literally in time for October. I don't want to get into it now, but it feels seasonal. Zombies, scary stuff reminds me of Halloween. That's very seasonal. But we're also going to be talking about a Call of Duty movie and what's going on with Rayman. So, Techtic, we kind of already started digging into this, but let's hop into Marvel Zombies. So we got the trailer for Marvel Zombies, and this is an animated feature which will be coming out on Disney Plus. They have all of the voice actors from, I guess, the new wave of Avengers who will be reprising their roles in this animated adventure. But the cool thing about this is that some of the superheroes that you've come to know and love are going to be zombies that the other superheroes you've come to know and love will have to take down amongst other hordes of zombies. And the animation style is just really cool. Marvel What If style, I would say, animation style. Everything about this looks super cool. It's just an alternate universe type situation. I think it is really great that they did get all of the original voice or actors, I guess, to reprise their roles as the voice cast. But Techtic, I know you're you did a lot of research on this. You're really into the comic book scene. Take it away. What are your thoughts?
So first and foremost, what's really interesting about this is that it's not based on anything that we've seen thus far. So in your travels, if you've seen Marvel Zombies here and there, we got that brief, like you said, that What If episode, or if you've gone into a comic book store and you saw Marvel Zombies, that's not this. The Marvel Zombies comic book run is based on the Earth 2149 planet or group or whatever you want to call it, where the entire Avengers are infected by an unknown hero landing on their planet and then just infecting everybody. And basically the story goes on to sort of be a bit of a horror scene where the zombies are the main protagonists, and it's about their constant need to feed on human flesh. Like, they maintain their intelligence, which really makes it interesting. So, like, they know they can outsmart people, they can outsmart humans and other villains, etc. But they also have that hunger that they need to satisfy, like to the point where there's zombies feeding on other zombies to try to satiate themselves. And even at one point, they had captured Black Panther and cut him off limb by limb to try to feed themselves as like a Black Panther snack.
Why him?
It was just one of the humans that they captured. He escaped and got replaced with some robot limbs, as they do. But it is a twisted series. Now, all that said, in the trailer, we see that the main characters are someone like Yelena and some of the Thunderbolts. We saw Spider-Man, and we saw Blade Knight. And while overall the internet seems to have a lot to say about this, I think it's pretty hyped. I think the trailer looks sick. The baby metal and violence, I'm just absolutely in. And then on top of that, the actions, like we saw Spider-Man web ripping zombies' heads off. That was the coolest thing. And like, if you consider the fact of how strong Spider-Man is, he could be ripping heads off now, and they don't have to be zombies. So that in itself, just neat. I didn't know you could do that, Spider-Man. And then lastly, the thing that I really want to make mention of is you had mentioned that a lot of actors are reprising their roles. Well, Blade isn't. This is a new version of Blade. This is Blade Knight, which is Blade meets Moon Knight, which is a combination we've never seen before. So it's like a whole new character with new abilities that we don't even know what to expect.
Not from the comics, like original for Marvel Zombies?
Not even a little bit. This was made for this show.
Interesting. Well, so when I was actually excited about, actors reprising their roles, I was actually, the one that stuck out to me, honestly, in the list was Haley Steinfeld, because we have not seen her new Hawkeye character since the Hawkeye TV series. It's like that character disappeared off the face of the planet after that miniseries dropped on Disney Plus, and they kept saying like, "Oh, the Young Avengers are going to be, coming back together." But that character specifically, I feel like we have not seen. And I know part of that was Jeremy Renner's horrible accident, and like we're glad he's doing better. But then there was the whole like they didn't want to pay him to reprise his role in the second, follow up season of that show. But then, like I said, that character, like I like Hawkeye as somebody, I feel like I've talked about this a little bit, but I don't like when superheroes are overly powerful. And that's kind of been like a running thread. So that was why I was even shocked that I liked Superman this year. But the cool thing about Hawkeye is like the Hawkeye characters don't have superpowers. They're just really fucking good at archery. And so I kind of like that character. And the fact that she disappeared, I was like, all right, what are they doing with this actor? What are they doing with this character? And so this is the first time I feel like we've seen her version of Hawkeye since then. And I was kind of excited about that.
Yeah, I am too. I wish we saw what to expect. Like, we know that Ant-Man's reprising his role, but we also saw him as a zombie. So I want to know to what extent that like voice acting is going to play. It might just be a little bit piece that is nothing. I mean, we know Hawkeye is getting killed right off the bat. They were very apparent with that. But I don't know where they're going to fit and who's going to really be carrying the show. And that's what's interesting to me. It seemed to be focused on the Thunderbolts, or was that just really what the trailer was focusing on? I don't know. I hope it's kind of a little bit here, a little bit there, and you get to see all these people kind of struggling in their own pockets. I think that could be really cool. I have a really important question for you.
Sure, what's up?
About Blade Knight. So Blade is a daywalker, and if he is Moon Knight, does that make him a moonwalker?
I got to be honest with you. I got to level with you. You know this already about me, but I guess I'm leveling with the listeners. I don't know anything about Moon Knight.
I was making a Michael Jackson joke. It was really funny. Everyone listening is currently laughing.
That went right over my head because I was like digging deep in my, Marvel lore. Taking a step back from your joke there. So this is kind of more broader scope than Marvel Zombies. But, we seem to be pretty excited about this. We walked out of Thunderbolts. We were really excited about that movie. I feel like we enjoyed Fantastic Four. I don't think it was as good as Thunderbolts, which was a weird take for me to have. I feel like I was expecting it to wow me more than Thunderbolts did, but like I'm getting drawn back into the MCU. How do you feel about that? Like, are you in the same like stage that I am where like some of these, movies and series and stuff are starting to pop up and I'm just like, okay, I'm actually interested in this again. And it's been a while.
I'm drawn to this. I don't consider this the MCU because it's not the MCU.
But like if this had come out, say 5 years ago in this onslaught of MCU, DC, or Disney Plus shows, I don't know if I would have given it the time of day. Like I would have been like, wow, cool animation. I don't care. I'm overstimulated. There's too much MCU. But like now I'm kind of like, this looks badass.
Can I ask you a better question?
Did Yelena and the new Avengers have something to do with that too? Like, yes, the fact that they are a focal point of this, and I actually really like Thunderbolts, that did help. But continue with your question.
So if this got you back on the MCU, would you watch the things that you have turned down previously? Like, when I saw the Marvel Zombies in What If, I wanted to watch all of those.
I struggle with What If because there's no impact, and I feel like there is so much MCU content that we haven't watched.
But there's no impact with this show relative to the greater
Yeah, but this
MCU.
just looks cool as fuck. What If is it's just like a bunch of singular episodes. I don't know. I don't really like alternative universe things. This has zombies, and historically, I have really enjoyed zombies. Like The Walking Dead, I loved until it went off the rails. The Last of Us, I know they're not technically zombies, but they're zombies, and I love it. I think like you have zombies, you pull me in. Having these like capsule episodes that don't really matter, I don't care that much. But now if you're talking about other things we missed, I'm still not going to watch Loki. Don't ask me that. I'm not going to do it. But some of the movies that we didn't catch up on, some of the other miniseries, I would totally watch.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the last thing, and I know I ranted that there's completely different, is I do think that they're going to take a lot of inspiration from that, and specifically from the comic book, from the comic book run, specifically when entities like the Silver Surfer and Galactus are consumed, they absorb their power cosmic. And one of the what I thought was one of the cooler bits out of that was the zombie Galacti, which is basically a squad of like Hulk, Spider-Man, Giant Man or Ant-Man, and they all had a piece of the power cosmic. So they were like kind of in the same color as Galactus, but just ransacking the entire universe. I want to see not just mauling a bunch of zombies. I want to see no shit, real deal. This is, I want it to end badly. I want the good guys to lose. And that's how I want it to put a bow on it.
I don't know if I want to see that. I feel like, as we've talked about getting back into superhero things, as cheesy as this sounds, we lived through the zeitgeist of both the MCU getting kind of dark and like a little too heavy, and also the DC universe getting really, really heavy. And I feel like now I'm out the other side where I want more uplifting stuff. Like, I think that's why I kind of resonated with things like Superman this summer and Thunderbolts. Fantastic Four, I thought was just like standard. Like, it didn't really have too much of a message. It was still just like standard old school superhero movie. But yeah, I don't want darkness. Like, I just want badass zombie ass kicking. That's all I want.
I just like the Galacti squad. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool for sure, but I'm not in a place where I want things to end badly.
Okay.
I'm looking for uplifting stuff in my media lately. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm not a negative person, but like I usually do like grit a little bit more, and I'm over here like, oh, I could use a happy ending.
So you want Yelena to just take it home, save the day.
Yeah.
Finds a cure.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, when this comes out, we're watching it.
Hell yeah. It's coming out in September, like late September. So just in time for, spooky season. Ooh.
Okay. So the next topic that we want to discuss is Call of Duty is now in the works of a live action thing.
Yeah, so Paramount is now partnering with Activision to bring a Call of Duty live action adaptation to life. And I believe the team behind it, they're trying to angle for, Top Gun Maverick style movie here, where they want these big set pieces, they want, characters that people will root for, and a lot of just visually stunning action. And I have so many different questions and thoughts about this. They don't have, aside from, knowing that Paramount is going to be producing this, they don't have a director yet. They don't have a cast. I don't think they have a writer or anything. Like, the partnership is very new. It's just been cemented. And this could go in so many different directions. And I'm really curious to see how they take this.
I think there's an important direction that it needs to go.
Well, if you look at the Call of Duty franchise, though, and I'm going to ask this of you because you seem to know what direction you want it to go. But there's so many different storylines. If you're going to follow the game campaign stories, you have your old school, like World War II campaigns. But then you also have the modern day stuff, and you also then have the future stuff. So do you go back and make it like a historical war movie? Or do you try to make it this like flashy modern day?
You start with Modern Warfare.
Do you?
Couple of things. First and foremost,
but like also Modern Warfare is not the same as Black Ops, and I feel like Black Ops is the thing that gets the people
Black Ops
going.
is another thing that they can do too. I just don't want them to do World at War or World War II or any of those historical ones. I think if they do that, it's just going to fall in the bucket of historical movies and not cool video game movies. That's the first thing that needs to happen, because honestly, while I fell in love with the Call of Duty franchise with World at War, the stories that I found the most like captivating were the really sci-fi ones. I thought those were just absolutely fantastic. It was like just massive set piece action. There was like jumping between satellites. Like, that was badass. And it translates perfectly into just...
Was that one Infinite Warfare?
I don't remember, but it translates perfectly into a fantastic sci-fi thriller. And then the other thing that they can do that really just will get the fans going is...
Get the people going.
Yeah, they used a lot of mocap with like known actors. So the question of who should play in these movies, well, we already know. It should be those actors, because there's like callbacks to the people who were there at the time of those games. So it's like a little wink and a nod. So it's just easy to get those people in on the ground floor. On top of that, a lot of people maybe don't play the Call of Duty franchise, and having a movie that is these great stories, because like I said, that's what I fell in love with, will bring those people in. And some people just don't have an Activision account. I'm going to make a shout out to the fact that my Activision account doesn't work until they fix it. Every episode. This is just my thing.
You got to start, messaging Microsoft and Activision at this point and just try to get that fixed, man. Because I would love to play, even like zombies. We don't even have to go online. I would love to play local zombies with you.
I did. They both blamed the other person. And it was just forever. It's all bots and nonsense.
You got to go viral. That's the thing. People, we need to make this like little clip go viral here. We need to get Techtic his account back.
Please. Specifically so that I can link it to my Microsoft account. That's the main thing. I can make a new account, but then it doesn't work. So that is the way that I think it needs to do it. They have to lean heavily on their sci-fi side of it, because they do a great job. And I think this is going to do gangbusters.
See, the interesting thing, though, and I was kind of mulling this over, it depends who they want their target audience to be. So if they want to go for an audience that isn't already playing Call of Duty, you might draw people in by making it a very, serious, compelling, historical war, I guess, cinematic experience that maybe people like.
Yeah, but been there, done that. There's so many World War II movies.
I hear you, but I'm thinking of like a guy like my dad who does like video games but has never played Call of Duty, and he fucking loves. I feel like I'm swearing a lot this episode. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna keep going. It's Labor Day, but he fucking loves World War.
Whispered it the second.
Yeah,
time.
he loves World War I and World War II stuff. He cannot get enough of it.
But doesn't he know how it ends?
Yeah, but he loves the personal stories, and people love the personal stories. And there is like, if they want to be taken like seriously, I'm thinking for like an award show or something. If they want to get nominated for an award, going the World War I or II path is the way to go, because that's when you get taken seriously. If you're just making like a kitschy, and I'm not saying that the modern day / sci-fi storyline campaigns are kitschy, but like if you're going for just, a sci-fi action romp that feels a little bit more Michael Bay, you're not also going to get much critical acclaim. It's just going to be another almost kind of generic action movie. Because the sad thing is, while we both like the campaigns, most people don't play them.
And that's why I think it's important for those to be made in a movie, because people don't know those stories, they're original stories, and it would expand the people who maybe would have not even given it a chance. And now in the next game that comes out, they're like, hey, these guys actually know what they're doing.
So I'm going to give a little bit of a contrarian take here, though. Imagine all of the Netflix, like made for Netflix action movies, right? Somebody could have told me that those were the campaigns to any game, and I would have been like, oh. While the game's campaigns are really fun to play through and the stories are somewhat interesting, I don't know if it makes a solid movie franchise that stands out from the crowd.
But it's a function of cutscenes, right? If it's like, there's a lot of like open world, so Skyrim's a really good example. I don't think that translates as well into a movie because it's a lot more player open world, free to choose their own adventure. Whereas all of the Call of Duty games, it's literally do this mission, cutscene, do this mission, cutscene.
I hear you. I'm just saying, it kind of feels like if you take it out of the video game context and you took all of those cutscenes in the storyline of a Call of Duty campaign from Modern Warfare, Black Ops, or Infinite Warfare, what have you, and you storyboard it and you give it to somebody and you're like, what is this from? They would be like, this is just a generic action movie. And so I struggle with, how do you make it stand out? Aside from it just being, a Call of Duty movie, how do you make it stand out so that it's not just a one and done?
Well, that's why it's important to bring in the same actors.
So can I mention then all of the Netflix made for Netflix action movies that had like The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, and even I think the one had Gal Gadot in it, and like, were they memorable? Could you tell me the plot of any of them?
Dude, but I'm so over those actors.
I'm just saying, I don't know how they make it not generic, and I hope they do, because I love the Call of Duty franchise. I know people shit on it, but I don't know. I boot up every new Call of Duty. I spend so much time in multiplayer. I haven't played the last couple campaigns, honestly, but I've spent so much time in multiplayer. The game is just so fun. And so, yeah, you wanna grow the franchise, but how do you make it stand out?
But
I'm not sure.
You're asking a question that's way more, I guess the word is ethereal that I'm looking for, where we're in a time where everything is constantly fed down our throats. Just movie after the churn of movie after movie after movie is so fast paced that it takes a lot for a movie to stand out. Let me ask you a question. What, besides K-pop Demon Hunters, because you watched that recently,
Love
but
it.
in
Love
the last year, was there a single movie that like you're like, oh, this movie is going to be like something that I'm going to rewatch and it's really staying with me?
So that's tough, because I tend not to rewatch movies that often, unless it's like a holiday movie. I don't really go back and rewatch movies. That's not a good tell for me. However, I will say, and this was not expected, F1, I still
That's
think
not staying with me.
See,
I barely remember the plot.
I still think about that sometimes. Not so much the plot, but the behind the scenes exposure to F1 and everything that goes into designing the car, and even how the teams work. As somebody who doesn't pay attention to racing, I felt like I actually learned so much, and that movie did a really good job of balancing teaching the viewer about a sport they might not know with driving a relatively compelling, like, sure, yeah, generic hero story, but like the way that they wove in teaching you about the sport of F1, because that's really what the movie was trying to do. And, telling you an entertaining story, I thought was really well done. And especially too, I will say, like, the visuals and feeling like you were in the cockpit was something I hadn't seen in a while.
I just think you're asking a question that is really goes beyond what you're expecting really any movie in today's day and age.
So here's my thing, is that this is going to be a big budget movie, right? And so how do you, like, I'm just trying to think how they make it a not one and done,
I
because
don't think it needs to. It just needs to do well at the box office, and then that's it. And then they're going to do it again, just like any franchise.
see, I don't know though, because a lot of these movies, they're going to blow their budget. They're going to have all of these crazy big set pieces, these action sequences. And then it's going to flop. It's going to pull an Assassin's Creed, and then it will die. And they're not going to do it again. So how do you make it stand out? How do you make it last longer?
Assassin's Creed is a bad example just because they completely deviated from the script material. This is not that hard to deviate.
It is easy to make this too generic.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I would like to see more game franchises do well.
The villains in the franchise are also like attainable, and realistic, and that's where I think it works. I think you're building on some good points where you can't just go right into some of the super sci-fi Black Ops. I think you have to ease into it, starting maybe with Modern Warfare, so that it has that sense of realism. It has that captivating villain. It's a shooter that people who are not familiar with can get in on the ground floor, but also you don't know how it ends. So I think that's the answer, is start with Modern Warfare and build off that, get those people in on the ground floor, and then continue to grow. But I think there's nothing wrong with it just being another fun, shooty action movie. It doesn't need to resonate with you.
All right, so here is my last devil's advocate point. So Paramount, right? This is in Paramount's hands. And you might look at what they did with Sonic, a beloved video game franchise, and be like, wow, they did a great job.
They did a great job.
But then you take a step back and you're like, what else did Paramount do? What else did they try to adapt? And you look at the Halo series and how awful they made that. And I guess that's where like my reservations are. And that's why I have so many questions. And that's why I'm playing such devil's advocate, because Halo is another first-person shooter property that I absolutely adore, and they freaking butchered that. They messed it up so bad. And I know one is TV show format and another is a movie, and one didn't have the team of Top Gun Maverick behind it. But like, my questions and concerns are valid just given their track record with Halo.
I do agree with you that Halo would be in a position to give you pause, but I think franchises, they're in a position, not franchises, TV shows, they're in a position where they have to milk everything. And so you have to get all of this character growth, and you have to show feelings.
Bro, Halo there's 6 mainline games that aren't multiplayer.
But it was completely different stories. They were trying to drag out just like the first Halo over multiple seasons. And so then they would basically throw a bunch of filler at you.
It wasn't even that. They like rewrote the lore in that series
for their filler. I think that's what they were trying to do, is just to fill it with a bunch of nonsense. Master Chief never took off his helmet, and they're like, second episode, that's gone. That's where they screwed up. And one of my biggest critiques with all of these video game to movie adaptations is they don't stick to the source material. That's, again, what Assassin's Creed did. They just need to stick with the source material. The story's great. It's there. Print it. Print money.
See, I think it's too generic of a story, and then they're going to try to make shit up, and they're going to Halo it. And that is my last comment, I guess. I feel like it's too generic. They're going to try to make shit up, and it's not going to go well.
I think it's fine with being a generic action movie. They just need to be okay with that. Guys, be okay with that.
I'm not okay with it, though. I'm not okay with it.
All right, then don't be okay with it. So with that, we're going to take our break. But before we do, we would be remiss if I didn't hand it over to Nerdbomber to shout out our Patreons.
All right. He clearly does not have the script ready to go, so I will read it off. We would be absolutely remiss to not give our kudos and our thanks to our fantastic Patreon producer, Stephen Keller. Please take a bow. Stephen is fantastic and has been supporting us at the night level for quite a while now. He was actually just on the show a couple weeks ago as part of his perks as our Patreon producer. You should go check that episode out. It was a great one. We always love talking to Stephen. If you want to be as cool as Stephen, I know I do, head on over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. You'll find there's 3 different subscription tiers. Each tier has a different slew of benefits, including our bonus secret segment every single month, our video vlog, voting rights on those topics, and more. So thank you again to Steven. And now we're going to get into our break.
Hey, this is Ken M.
Padawan J.
Coach Duffy.
From the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. Every week, the ODPH is talking sports, movies, TV, comics, and more. It's always a parlay of topics on each episode. You can find the ODPH on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and wherever you find great podcasts, such as the one you're listening to right now. Don't forget to check out OchoDuroParlayHour.com, where you can find the links to all of the ODPH social media accounts, links to the bands whose music you hear each week on the show, hashtag 607 podcast info, and parlay points, our companion blog section of the show. Thanks for listening to the ODPH. Now get back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
And we are back from our break, ready to hop into our third topic of the day. And we're going to be talking about Rayman. So we got some news. Rayman has been kind of, laying low for a little bit. And for a little bit, I mean, I want to say almost 20 years. Not quite 20 years. But it's been quiet. It's been a while. I think the last Rayman game came out on the Xbox One. So it's been a hot minute. But we finally got some news because it is the Rayman 30th anniversary. And Ubisoft is finally giving us a little bit of an update on the franchise. They don't have many details to share, and they said don't expect news from us too soon, but they do have something in the works, and we will be seeing Rayman again. And so, Techtic, I have to ask you, are you excited about this? Are you a Rayman fan? Have you played Rayman? Give me everything.
There's a bit to unpack here. So I was introduced to Rayman via Rayman Advanced on, obviously, the Game Boy Advanced. And I've seen him on Game Pass over the years, but aside from the nostalgia keeping him alive, I'm not really sure where the hype is coming from for this. It's very strange, and I'm not trying to throw shade on it because I do.
You're throwing some shade.
I'm not. Shade. It's just it seems like you said, 20 years. It seems very out of nowhere, and I think it's really important because there's something that stuck with me when I played this game. So beyond all of the hype and everything like that, or the lack thereof, I want to caution the developers if they're going to develop a new Rayman, and you're gonna be shocked, Pikachu, when I say this. Throw an easy mode on your games.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because while I thought the games were very fun, I found them to be excruciatingly punishing as a child. I never beat Rayman Advanced. I put it down and I was mad at it. I thought he was a cool character. I liked the basically non-attached limbs, his hands float. I don't know if you're familiar. And he charges his fist and he can punch, and it's almost like a stretch, but it's like an invisible phantom arm that connects the hand to the body. It's pretty cool, and you can grab onto things and swing. And it's a neat 2D platformer. But it was just, there was this mosquito level that was really, really hard. And it was so punishing as a child. And I think it has a lot to credit itself because the levels look cool, the enemies look cool, the art style look cool. But I don't think kids have this, and I know I sound like an old man, kids these days. I don't think they have the same patience to grind like the games that we grew up with Simba, the notoriously hard game, and we're fine.
Though?
I
would argue, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the Game Boy Color, or maybe it was the Game Boy Advance Mega Man game, which I found to be extremely punishing as well. You brought up The Lion King. I'm thinking Aladdin. A lot of those games back then were extremely hard. And I think that's just a sign of the times. I don't think that was Rayman specifically. I think that was pretty much all games back then. And I don't know, I hesitate to say I don't think kids these days have the patience for that, because I know I sure as hell didn't have the patience for it back then either. I definitely had a Game Shark and I used it. I used it for stuff like Mega Man because I would die and then you'd have to go back to the beginning, and it was so frustrating. And I didn't like stuff like when you're 8 years old and you've spent a car ride, a 5-hour road trip in the back seat, grinding away at a game, and then you die and you're back to square one. That's the worst feeling.
And they don't have size constraints like they used to. So my plea, if you're going to make another game, is to add an easy mode, because like I said, it was super punishing, and I don't want that to spoil what would be a really cool game and a cool character.
So I have a broader scope question for you. I feel like a lot of the hype for Rayman is based and steeped in nostalgia, and there's a lot of different characters that have come and go in the video game world. How do you determine, how would you feel, you determine which characters are worth resurrecting? Because I'm still over here, and I feel like Jak and Daxter, they've appeared in things, but they're not we haven't had a mainline Jak and Daxter game in forever. How do we decide which characters get resurrected and brought to life? I would love a new Sly Cooper game. Again, I know these are different eras and not quite the same Rayman era, but how do we decide which characters are important and which we leave in the dust? Because there's also a bunch in the side-scroller 80s, 90s era that we've completely lost as well.
I mean, wild take. I'd be happy if every character got a second chance. I think it's artistic. I mean, video games are art, and it's cool to see that art never dies. So I'm a big fan of being reintroduced, or even for the first time introduced to, like you said, some of the 80s characters before my time. I'd love to meet new characters that all of a sudden have this whole history that I was unaware of. Absolutely. Every character is my answer to your question. Why not? I mean, Toe Jam and Earl, bring those guys back. They were sweet,
But where do you draw the line? Because then I feel like we've talked about this too with, Steven, I know, is not a huge fan of Astrobot, but we saw Sony make the distinct decision to move away from Sackboy. And I know there was the PlayStation 5 Sackboy game, which was fantastic. You should play it. It was great. But they seem to be making the conscientious decision that Sackboy is no longer their mascot, because he was for a little bit. The whole is that Little Big Planet that he came from? That whole thing is kind of now pushed away to the wayside, and they're replacing him with Astrobot as the main mascot of PlayStation. So at what point do you say, well, maybe though, if we're investing all of this money in this old character purely on nostalgia, we're preventing new characters from getting developed and moving forward?
Why are you preventing them?
There's only, let's be real, there's only so much funding to go around. And additionally, there's only so much playtime to go around. People can't physically play everything.
And that is where public domain comes to play, where some of these super old characters can see the light of day, and it's not a big giant house funding it. It's indie developers and things like that.
Yeah, but these IPs, they're getting renewed. They don't want to lose the IP, so they're not hitting the public domain.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I guess it's part of it is emotions. Whoever's pulling the shots they're gonna feel one way about one character versus not. I mean, Astrobot is the mascot for the PlayStation, probably in part because of his colors. It makes sense to be the mascot for PlayStation, that it's not a sack, right? That looks nothing like a PlayStation.
Don't hate on Sackboy.
But it's if to say the mascot, that makes sense to me. I don't think that Sackboy is obliterated from existence. Sackboy will come back in the future.
One can only hope, but it doesn't seem like it.
Everything's got its cycle. It'll come back, and just bring it back to Rayman. He was cherished. He was loved by groups of people. I'm sure over the years, fans have been clamoring, when is the new Rayman? There's got to be, obviously, financial decisions to keep this franchise alive. And here it is. We're going to get a new one. So everyone has, it's like everyone has their Pokemon, right? Everyone's got their thing. Someone somewhere is going to be clamoring for it. Let's say you lived in an obscure city and you liked an artist, and you were just spamming that artist to come to the city. They might think 200 people want them there.
I feel attacked. I feel targeted.
But really, it's just you spamming that artist. You know what I mean? It's
targeted.
There will always be someone for something for someone, period.
Bringing it back to video games and mascots and stuff, if there was a single franchise that you would bring back from the dead, what would it be? Sorry to put you on the spot a little bit. I will tell you mine so that you can take a second to think. But mine would 110% be Sly Cooper, because I know, again, there's been nuggets in like Astrobot. They haven't completely forgotten about Sly Cooper. I hear you. But we haven't gotten a new Sly Cooper game in forever. And that was such a freaking good game. And I feel bad. I legitimately feel bad that people who don't have access to like a PlayStation 2 or, I don't know, a way to stream those original Sly Cooper games will never be able to experience it because that was so freaking good. So good.
Custom Robo, to answer your question.
What is that?
It is a kind of anime-y robot fighting game where it's like the robots are super tiny. It's not like a Gundam robot fighting. Like the robots are on your tabletop. And somehow these robots are also powerful to take down mega organization. It's like, think Pokemon with robots.
Okay.
It was sick. It was on the GameCube. I loved it. The story was neat. And it hasn't come back. It's been basically shelved since then. There was 3 games in 2006, 2002, and 2004. And that was it.
I'm surprised there were even that many games for it.
Custom Robo Arena, Custom Robo, and Custom Robo GX.
That's crazy. Yeah, I never heard of that. Man, okay, that's just made me think of one other one. I don't want this to be resurrected, but now I'm just like in the old memory bank of games that I forgot existed. But do you remember Whiplash?
No.
It was, I don't remember what you were. You were some kind of like deranged, maybe it was like a fox or something. And you had this rabbit that you like beat the shit out of to solve puzzles and like beat enemies. I don't know. It was kind of crazy. I don't understand like whoever's brainchild that was. I'm very curious to see what the inside of your head looks like.
Ever in my life.
I played it on the PlayStation 2. I think my brother gave it to me. Maybe. I don't know. There was a lot of like weird messed up stuff in it.
It's like a ferret dragging a rabbit.
Yeah. It was oddly a lot of fun, but also super disturbing and really messed up. But yeah, that was a game that existed that I forgot.
You were like 7, maybe 8, 9?
I don't know. I don't know how old I was, but yeah, I don't know what was that game rated? You have it pulled up right now. You're looking at it, you're laughing.
I'm just horrified by this. This is insane.
Yeah, so if you guys want to look at some brain rot, go Google the game Whiplash. Yeah. I mean, I think that was a sign of the times. It was a very like late 90s, early 2000s type game for sure. You're enamored.
It's got a 7 out of 10 on IGN, 6.6 out of 10.
No,
on
I meant like,
GameSpot.
what was it like maturity rating? Was it like a E for everyone? I can't imagine it was. Like PG-13 maybe? M? I don't know.
It was rated E for everyone, obviously.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I was a little kid playing that and it was perfectly okay.
Although some sources have it as T for teen, so who knows?
It could go either way. I was a mature kid. I could play teen stuff.
All right. So with that, we're going to roll into our What Are You Up To Wednesday. And I'd like to start.
Okay.
So over this past Labor Day, I went to see my family. It's a bit of a drive, but I want to talk about 2 things. One's going to be on the drive and one's going to be on the actual visit. On the drive, I kind of curated a playlist that was an accidental playlist. I heard someone mention that I should listen to Yungblud. I vaguely saw him when Ozzy Osbourne passed, just in various snippets. Guys, he's good. I recommend. He kind of has a decent amount of range, from like metal to like even some like acoustic-y songs. And I was very impressed with the diversity of this artist. So that's the first thing I want to shout out. The second thing I want to shout out is when I was with my family, we played the Tetris board game. I know I've talked about this before in the past, but what's so good about this game, and time again, is you barely need to explain the instructions and anyone can pick it up. In addition to that, you can have there's like bonus cards for bonus points. And so it keeps the game dynamic while maintaining that simple way to play it. And so I 10 out of 10 will always recommend the Tetris board game as like One of my easily top 5 board games. So that's all I wanted to talk about. What have you been up to, Nerdbomber?
So my what are you up to is a little bit lame, and I feel like I've had a very crazy, hectic last couple weeks. Obviously, you know, where Techtic travels, so do I. And so that was part of it. But we also, you know, I had some like work travel and stuff like that, and tiredness and just crazy hectic schedule. However, I have continued to dabble in playing my guitar. And as I'm doing this, you know, Techtic has talked about his electric drum set that he bought. And, you know, guitar, I've played acoustic guitar for a decent portion of my life. I taught myself, self-taught. And I'm in transitioning over to electric guitar. Guys, it's hard. And like, it's not unattainable, and I'm not going to give up.
It feels different than the acoustic?
Well, it does, because with the acoustic, for the most part, you're doing like chords and stuff, whereas electric guitar, you're like you're riffing, you're moving all over, right?
Gotcha.
And so I've got in my head that I kind of want to try bass guitar as well. And like, that just feels like adding another layer of things to learn. But I have a plea to the listeners out there. If you know anything about bass guitar, give me some pointers, because everywhere I look, there's a bunch of different guitar models. There's a precision bass, jazz bass, a combo PJ bass. I don't know what I need. I don't know what I want. I want to play like indie rock, I guess. But there's also like short scale bass, which I'm reading is, you know, a shorter neck, which is supposed to be a better transition for people used to the guitar. Then there's the standard length bass. And there's so many different brands. Like there's this really sick yellow and black Mark bass, but I don't know too much about that brand. I've heard they mostly make amps. Then there's obviously Fender, which is a big deal. And I think Ibanez is another brand. I don't know. People give me tips, because I am like fully embracing this musical side of myself. You know, I have my DJ stuff going. I've got all of these instruments like banding about the house.
I feel like if a company is good at making amps, they've got to be good at making the thing that goes through the amps.
You would think, right? I don't know. But like, it's a different thing. One is all like plastic and metal, and one is wood.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what you're doing, I don't know. Reviews on that have seemed like they're pretty decent, but also there's different colors too. Do I want a yellow and black one that looks kind of like a school bus, because I think that's fun? Do I want a coral blue one? I don't know. Give me your recommendations. And also tell me how to get better at guitar without spending a ton of money, because that's also a big thing. Like I'm self-taught. I'm a self-taught musician. I've only ever had lessons for the clarinet, and that grossed me out because spit and ugh. So I'm only a self-taught musician. Tell me how to get better, because I want to rock.
She wants to rock, folks.
And that's pretty much what I've been up to.
And you also went fishing.
That too. Yeah. I mean, we go to the ocean, we throw some bait in the water, catch a couple fish. You know, it is what it is.
All right. Well, let us know if you like this episode. Let us know what your thoughts are on Rayman, zombies, and or anything else that tickles your fancy. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear you on the social medias. I am at techtic.bsky.social.
I'm at ownerdbomber.bsky.social.
And we are the Online Warriors podcast. So in the meantime, stay safe and keep on podcast.